Yeah. Well, what is their policy? You won't find a policy. There is no policy. There cannot be a policy. The policy was finance capital before. What stabilized capitalism, to come to the kernel of the thing? What stabilized capitalism in the first place? Is capitalism a stable entity? No exploitative system can be stable. When you have those who control and those who are controlled, the controlled will never accept. Unless you somehow believe that people are naturally indoctrinated. I don't believe that. I think that the contrary is true. In fact, you even see it in animals. They don't like inequality. Nobody likes inequality. I'd say it's a genetic feature. Everybody is opposed to inequality. When you give, whatever it is, 5 dogs different amounts, they will fight. They'll be opposed to it. It simply doesn't work. It cannot work. It is unstable. But of course, if there is no alternative, it can go on on and on and on. As we know, Russia was unstable in this way for 500 years. So it isn't enough to just say it is unstable. Nobody wants to go on for another 500 years like this. But it is more than that. For the first time, there is an alternative, a socialist alternative. It is possible. The question is, what stabilized capitalism before they switched to finance capital in the 1870s? If one actually looks at both at Marx and capitalism, as it were, what you see is a system which would tend towards a dysfunction between Department 1 and 2, between producer goods and consumer goods, or between demand and supply, which would be under consumption. And thirdly, you have classically in Marx's work, in Marxist theory, you have the question of the declining rate of profit. Classically, when examining downturns, and I think this is a depression, and interestingly enough, in Britain, some of the responsible establishment bodies are calling it a depression. It may be amazing, but it is so. I think it is a depression, and I think it's very different, because up to at least March 2000, if you look at the upturns and downturns, the state played a crucial role in causing the upturn and the downturn. They were not automatic. You tended until the late 70s to have full employment, at least in the rest of the world. Sorry. You tended to have full employment, at least in the rest of the world, and the state had to control inflation, which meant basically wages in the working class. So it induced the downturn. It was controlled. Or we can put it another way. We do not live in the 19th century or even before 1945. We don't have an automatically operating economy. The state plays a crucial role in that economy. We simply don't have a laissez-faire economy. We can't simply analyze capitalism as Marxist without bringing in the administration of the economy itself. Quite obviously that is so. Or for that matter, without bringing in the capitalist class as well. When Hilferding was talking about the nature of finance capital, and I think although his politics may have been wrong, the political economy made a lot of sense at the time. As you know, it was adopted by the socialist movement en masse, it was adopted by Lenin and Trotsky and so forth. And his overall analysis bears reading and rereading. One of the points he makes is that for the first time with finance capital, the capitalist class can exist genuinely as a collectivity which talks to itself and can organize. That is obviously the truth. That is the way it goes. So we cannot simply analyze it as an automatically changing system, automatically moving downwards and upwards kind of system. It doesn't do that. The state has to step in, and steps in all the time, one way or another. The only thing that has happened is they've done it as far as they could indirectly. Directly and indirectly, but they've been trying to do it indirectly. That was basically all that happened with Reagan and Thatcher. A more indirect way of control rather than a direct way of control. The point of that is to say that until at least March 2000, we had a controlled economy in which the upturns and downturns had a lot to do with what the administration or the capitalist class actually wanted in terms of control. Since then, it's gone beyond that. And that is, again, the same time, but it is because the fundamental aspect of stability given to capitalism within the finance capitalist framework for a time, and then later, after the war, it was industrial capital which played the crucial role, has been war, the Cold War in particular, and imperialism. The problem of the present is there isn't a Cold War, and the present war isn't playing the same kind of role. It's much, much smaller. It's playing a much, much lesser role, and then what it does not do is provide the ideology necessary for the control which is required. It simply isn't there. It can't be there. And I don't imagine they're about to get another bigger war again. That isn't ruled out. So we're in a permanent downturn, as it were. Of course, it's turned up as part of the cycle, but the overall tendency will be towards low rate of growth. Now, of course, that is much more general. Finally, can I just, since I've only got 3 minutes, turn to the politics of the thing, or what's happening with the line of various governments. Leah has referred to it. It's quite clear that the capitalist class itself is not clear where it wants to go. But what it has decided to do is to go for cuts of the public sector. Now you can ask, what on earth are they doing? How stupid can you get? You cut the public sector. Now, in Europe, the public sector is crucial. At least 1/3 of the population actually work in the public sector, and the other 2/3 almost certainly have a close relation to it. So you cut it, and everybody hates you. Now, the Conservative Party has actually said that. We know we will come in, we will go for drastic cuts, and everybody will hate us for a year. And I hope after a year or 2 years, people will then love it. But how? How is anybody going to love it? Obviously not. So, you're asking, what on earth are they doing? We will not have a revolution tomorrow, and it may be many people will be demoralized. Yes. Nonetheless, let's look at Greece. Why on earth are they letting Greece go this way? Why? Michael was an advisor in Latvia. They didn't let Latvia go, or Estonia, or Lithuania. They didn't. They actually had a special meeting, especially called a meeting. They gave 78 billion to the 3 countries. Can you imagine? They gave 78 billion. They called a special meeting in February of last year of the banks. They sat around a crowded table according to the reports, and all the banks agreed, yes, we will give them money. Why they give them and not Greece? Why? Well, we know why. Because these were former so-called communist countries. They had to bail them out, otherwise it looks terrible. They left Stalinism, they go to capitalism. Capitalism is also terrible. They can't do it. So, what they have to do is go for Greece. Why Greece? Because in Greece you have a militant population, left-wing, right-wing, centre, whatever. They're militant. Remember, they've been through a war occupied by the Germans, whom they now reminding them are occupied by. They now, of course, been told by the Germans to cut the standard of living. Well, yeah, we know about that. Then they had a civil war, conducted to a large degree by the British, who are of course, still doing the same kind of job from their point of view. Then they had the colonels. They've been fighting for a long time. They are political. It's not surprising you get these protests. So why is Merkel going on and on saying, no more, cut more? They cut 3 times now. And you have demonstration after demonstration. You could say, do they really want to commit suicide? Because that's just logic. Okay, I don't imagine in Greece there will be a revolution. That won't happen. But militancy will increase. People will become more discontented, from what I can see from our former panelist or would-be panelist who's supposed to come to sub us, who's too busy fighting there. The likelihood is that his group and the left group will grow and grow. I don't believe they'll be worse the better. That's nonsense. But these changes are changing people. People are moving to the left.